GM crypto news now. Here is March 5th. And before I get into the video, please read the description below on the take of the shilling of the tokens. So let's talk about the price action of the majors. Bitcoin is grinding higher, and it seems like it was actually sitting at a higher low here. We'll see if this is going to be a resistance or not, a 90K here, as it does say about EMA. But what I'm actually a bit more biased for is that it looks like it wants to go even higher. Bitcoin, the liquidation heat map even supports this, where there's more liquidity stacked above here. So a hard resistance for Bitcoin, if we were to actually keep going higher, is around 95,000. And a lot of this could be because people are expecting some good news about the crypto summit on Friday. So that could be pricing some things in. We'll see what's going to happen there. I'm not really expecting anything that crazy because a lot of what Donald Trump said he was going to do with crypto, he's already said, like the Federal Reserves and whatnot with the crypto reserve. We'll see what's going to happen. But currently right now, Bitcoin looks pretty decent right now. And if it not, and this is actually the resistance, then of course this will pull back and go lower and form some sort of a bearish downtrend, maybe hitting back 78K. So it's a bit something like that. We'll see what's going to happen. Just got to adapt as we go. But this price action is not the worst. If we look at the other ones, Solana, yeah, they're kind of just following Bitcoin here. They're not really having their own narrative. So I wouldn't really say anything else except that Bitcoin is definitely the dominant major out of all of them. And let's look at the F1 dashboard here. So market cap of AI is still going like sideways, but if we look at this as well, I don't know what the fuck this is with like Avalanche, but there seems to be some narrative. I'm going to talk about it a little later. And then some interesting things here. So holder scan wise, well, you want to of course look at the tokens that are getting super holders. So most noticeable strength in this holder scan is Fart Coin and Butthole Coin. Well, very interesting to see. You want to see this parabolic movement because it shows people are super interested in things like this, right? The ones that are like meme coins, on the other hand, market's not that interested in them yet because you can see the holder scan is dying like this. Like look at Michi, for example. You look at even PopCap, nobody's super interested in this yet. It's pretty much at a standstill, while AI is catching a lot more bids. So currently altcoin wise, that shows you where the memes are and where AI is in comparison, where AI still seems to be the narrative where the meme market is actually interested in. If we look at the price action of the majors or the altcoins here, so I'm just going to go over it very briefly, but if I look at Solana AI, some things are green on the day, some things are red. The strongest ones are Butthole and Fartcoin. Fartcoin is pretty strong. I personally added some of this yesterday because it has a lot of attention and mind share on crypto Twitter right now. I think long term Fartcoin goes to zero because somehow the thesis is that Fartcoin, its attention has already peaked out and everybody already knows about this. And what could happen more likely is that Fartcoin has a recovery pump to try to play with this current attention and then maybe hit some local resistance there before tapering down back to zero. So for me, playing this is more of a shorter term thing, and I think that this recent strength is because people are expecting it to do all-time highs again. I mean, maybe it can, I could be wrong, but I just don't see much reason for something like this, a meme coin, to exist like this. I think there will be a recovery somehow, and if not, then the stop loss, I guess, is below 200 mil or some shit. But that is my current bet on it, and we'll see what's gonna happen. Of course, that doesn't mean it's gonna go there in a straight line. It could do some sort of zigzaggy shit, and we try to trade it, of course, because right now it's more of a trader's market instead of a holder's market. So we'll see what's gonna happen. Some other tokens like ARK. So I want to talk about this one. So I was talking about this one previously, but honestly, this price action is just really annoying. So it was in this compressive state, and then it broke downwards, and now I can't really say that this is that bullish because, as you guys can see, the volume is not the most interesting. It seems the holder scan of it is still fine, but I don't know, this price action, I think that there were better options like Fartcoin in the short term, which is why I bought some more of this. I think ARK will be very fine long term, but this price action, the price is telling me something is going on with this, and most likely it's going to be very low volatility, or if not, then even lower, because I can't really find much of a reason for it to go up unless they release some super bullish news about AI. But we'll have to see what's going on with this. If I look at the base AI tokens, well, I think that's some noticeable strength in base AI. So I personally added some Acolyte here because it has some actual super strength. And recently it did break this market structure around here and flipped a bit bullish here. So I'm expecting this one to actually do well. If Bitcoin actually goes higher, 95K, then maybe it will do something quite nice here. But I like this one because if I were to give you guys the tweet analyzing it, it's essentially the Google of AI agents, and it seems to do an AI discovery platform helping users to find and evaluate AI agents across different platforms, ensure authenticity and real utility before engagement, access structured analysis on AI teams, technology transparency, and all this stuff. You can argue if it's manipulated or not, but this price action honestly is not that weak compared to other AI tokens. So if I were to compare it to like something like they, for example, this chart is not the best. While Eclipse, on the other hand, it's still not the worst or best, but at least it's somehow holding up decently within this. So I like this one. Seems interesting. And right now, out of all the other AI tokens, it is decently strong. If you were to compare it to maybe something like Vader, then if you zoom out, this chart is currently at the last phase of its Elliott wave cycle, and I do think these will come back at some point, but when, right? And you want to be the strongest ones when the AI tokens go back up. And if you look at memes, well, nothing really too exciting. A lot of them are sideways. And if I look at Solana meme coins, again, nothing really too exciting. There's nothing really to say here, honestly. I think a strong Solana meme coin is Oyaya. So Oyaya, if I can find this token, Oyaya. So this one is pretty strong. I don't know if maybe it can go back to all-time highs, but we'll have to see what happens. I think there's more of like a fart coin-esque type of thing where it has a lot of mind share, but at some point it's going to peak out and maybe just do its endless, inevitable dump back to zero. We'll see what's going to happen. Short term, these are bullish. Long term, I'm a little bearish on them. I'm more long term bullish on AI infra and perhaps even base meme coins. And then some of the dead, so quote unquote dead Solana meme coins like Selfie here. Long term, I'm bullish on. The short term, I'm a little, I think short term, the tokens that have a lot of attention like Farcoin and whatnot, and even good AI infra that the market seems to love like Accolades, I'm more short term bullish on this. So that's just a brief summary of that. I don't want to super yap about it, but let's look at a tweet here. If you're holding high conviction meme coins or altcoins with strong fundamentals, you have only one objective. Don't get liquidated. Don't get shaken out of your bags. The market will test your resolve over and over again, but the inevitable face melting all season will only reward holders and believers. Yep. So this guy, he is known for holding a bonk long from the lows, and he's still holding it somehow. He's up millions of dollars. And of course, he can give a lot of tips, right? But he's saying that if you have a lot of high conviction in your tokens here and the thesis for them, you don't want to get shaken out and try to play the short-term shit and try to trade it. No, of course, you have a long-term prospect and a long-term price target for it. So, and you should hold for it because you have a thesis most likely and you want to stick to it, right? Of course, it depends. This is for altcoins primarily. If you're a bit more of a trader, then you could probably try to trade it. But even still, that can fuck with your mental image with the thesis, right? And you know what they say in the long term, that most holders outperform traders. So unless you're a giga trader, then most likely not exactly the best to be trying to trade these little movements in the markets, right? But what he's saying here is very useful for most people. Of course, a lot of people who have this mentality is leads you to round tripping a lot. So a lot of tokens, like even Accolade, like if you bought at the top here and you thought it would do an infinite spiral upwards, then like, oh, that'll be kind of interesting, but now it's like down here. Of course, this is probably good in the long term, but you need to have the thesis where it says that it could be at some sort of price targets, but your current bags are saying, oh, well, I don't know. So let's look at this. This is something I'm still working on, but it's important to understand. Last year, I hit 4 20x trades on decent size. I then saw the top, but managed to capture about 60% of the move by selling gradually on the way up. But the style of trading often leads to a lot of round chipping. Balancing between being a delusional bull and proper risk management is tricky. The conditions need to be right. The narrative must be compelling and still early enough to avoid consensus, and you have to be able to hold through volatility. Not an easy game to play, but the one trade that runs makes up for all the losses. So this guy said, if you're wondering why you keep round tripping life-changing money, hitting 100x generally requires bad risk management. It's a feature, not a bug. So he's right about that. And what he's saying here is that it's pretty hard to have this balance of risk management being a bull, because this mindset can often lead you to round trip, which a lot of people did, right? And this round tripping, well, it's honestly nature of the game. If you were playing with the conviction of what the bond guy does, for example, and also have your own thesis and then taking profits. Honestly, the old age of Dodge, when you are taking profits, is always take profits on the way up, because you never want to know the parabola is going to break. And honestly, from my own perspective, it's very useful to know some technical indicators and some trading fundamentals and what trend following is versus mean reversion and all of this stuff, so that you can know whether a token is going to go down to the ground or not. And for most altcoins, we know that in their first large speculative phase, they usually always do a 90% retrace after that. So just keep that in mind. And I think a lot of people were expecting much, much higher somehow in Q1. And I was also believing that as well. I still think in sometime later in March, it will be decent, but we'll see what's going to happen. So let's look at this. OpenAI agent expected to cost $20,000 per month. That's a six-figure salary. Then you can assume these agents will replace real jobs at companies. Supposedly, software engineering agent costs $10,000. High-paid knowledge worker agent costs $2,000, and PhD level agent costs $20,000. I think people understand this to mean how impactful these agents will be because initially they're going to be behind closed doors. But in my opinion, these scale to non-enterprise use cases as soon as someone launches open source. I bet the crypto team will enable it. So maybe it will be a crypto team. I'm not really sure. I mean, it would be very interesting to see because crypto allows you to have more easy investing from retail, I suppose, and it's not closed to angel investors. But something like this with OpenAI, where now they are creating these agents and they essentially are as valuable as $20,000 a month, is absolutely insane. And this guy is essentially saying that, well, could be the future, right? Because the AI agents that they're building here and are making actually super useful, well, at a point they're going to replace some people. And he's thinking that perhaps it could be tokenized into the near future, especially with the crypto AI narrative. And you just want to look out for a narrative like that. If it does come out, in theory, it would be very, very good. So let's look at this. One word of advice to everyone using TA to trade the majors these days. Yes, TA works if enough people use the same patterns to trade the charts in isolation, but there's one thing you can't factor in, and it's more relevant than the lines you draw on a chart. It is what Donald Trump is posting or announcing and how he is doing that. His very spontaneous communication and the tendency to announce announcements adds a massive layer of volatility to the markets. We've seen BTC going up and down 10% back-to-back on multiple days. There are two ways to approach it. You either try to find an edge, study all his posts, announcements, keep track of everyone relevant in the government and their columns to try to trade faster, or even anticipate certain announcements to the extent that this is even possible. In theory, this sounds like what you should do, but in practice, it's very hard. Or you acknowledge that you want to focus your time and resources elsewhere. In that case, you only need to determine if you're generally bullish and hold a spot because you want to hold or be bearish. Good luck. He's saying here, you could try to do the TA stuff. Most times, if you get really good at it, then it is actually a lot more beneficial to you than if you're not using TA. But the fact is that currently in the crypto market, a lot of this price action is definitely manipulated by Donald Trump. Look at this weird fuckery, right? This is definitely this. If you were a TA person, you'll be thinking, well, this is pretty bearish for Bitcoin. And if it was supposed to do a recovery from here, which most likely did, it's most likely not going to be the strongest, right? But it actually ended up being way, way stronger than we thought and became something super volatile. I don't think there's many traders that were expecting this huge leg upwards from the lows here. They didn't expect Bitcoin to go to 78 to 95K in the span of a few days. Of course not. But this just means that there's a lot of external forces that you need to take into consideration, and you can try to get the edge. But in most cases, people are better off just bag holding some spot bags that they super believe in. So that could either be some meme coins or some AI tokens if you're into alts, or just the majors here, and just hold them for a certain time frame. And when time comes or you need that money somehow, then you could take the profiting. There's a lot of reasons why you should take profits, and it's really depending on your situation. But most people, they are better off just holding on to a token, doing some DCA, and then just forget about it and go on with their lives. Or you can just be bearish, not buy it at all. It depends on you, right? But let's look at this. Breaking: Coinbase looking to release tokenized coin massive. So it seems like Coinbase is going to make their own token finally for their own chain. And I think in general, that's a good thing for Base because the tokenization obviously attracts more attention to them. I don't know if it's actually going to be a utility token that they actually use for their own chain because they use Ethereum, right? But we'll see what's going to happen. I don't really have much thoughts about it. But let's look at this. People on AVX just keep winning. More people just coming here because they're tired of losing on their chains. So yeah, there's like this guy, a bunch of crypto AI people that are shilling Avalanche change for some reason. And if we were to look at these tokens, so I'm going to look up Blob. So he's talking about this Blob token. Well, I think that's what this actually is. So it seems to be launched a day ago. Well, this Avalanche narrative, my own opinion on this is that a lot of people on crypto Twitter are so bored and they needed something to play. Like, we know Pump Fund has been down. Nobody's really gambling. People have money and they're just tired. Like, they want to make everything back and they want a narrative to play. And I think Avalanche, I don't really think there's that much of a narrative around it currently, except that it's forced and that a lot of people are just picking it up. They built into these tokens and perhaps got some insider information, bought in super early, and now they're shilling all everywhere. And posts like these are honestly exit liquidity posts, in my own opinion. They're trying to get exit liquidity. And most likely this eventually goes to zero at some point, and it's not the next big thing. I think people are just treating this as a forced narrative here, and at this point, it could go higher. We'll see what's going to happen, especially if Bitcoin keeps going higher. But right now, I just think it's a forced narrative, and that there's not enough that liquidity to actually support this price action much longer. And most people, they're better off just, instead of trying to trade these narratives and trying to get an edge over the insiders, they probably should just stick with their spot bags or just do something IRL, where the fuck. But yeah, I see a lot of crypto AI Twitter people shilling these Avalanche tokens. I just think it's a forced narrative, and you can think if it's scummy or not. I saw it last time with Tron narrative, for example. A lot of people started shilling that, but yeah. Just keeping that in mind if you see these things. But that's pretty much all I'm saying in this video. A lot of yap about crypto. But Bitcoin, it looks like it could grind higher if we break past the 90K resistance here and go to 95K. That would be pretty decent. But most likely, if it does hit 95K, it's most likely going to be a local top. And at some point with Bitcoin, it's most likely going to retest the lows, like 80s, low 80s at some point again. So I want to get too horny about it because right now we're in this mean reverting state. I mean, it's possible that this could just be all the time it needed to take in this new range here, and then it would go back to the previous range. That could also be a possibility, but we'll see what's going to happen. Usually when the markets are in this ranging state, it likes to stay ranging, and we really need a bullish catalyst for it to finally close above 95K and start ranging from 90 to 100K again. We're going to need something super crazy. We'll see what's going to happen. It's a bit dependent on Trump, honestly, and Donald Trump, we know his time frame is much longer than a few days. So that's pretty much all I'm saying in this video, and I'll see you guys.